One of the topics of discussion and a short focus of the lecture for week 5 of this course was the role of women in resistance and their involvement in various organizations. As a Holocaust educator, I've struggled with my own personal knowledge base with regard to gender roles, specifically the roles of women. So I saw this assignment as an opportunity to research this topic to gain a deeper understanding of how women participated in resistance. For my research question, I wanted to determine how such a study might aid in an understanding of gender roles as a whole, allowing incorporation of this aspect of the Holocaust into my class curriculum. I began my research by exploring the role of women within partisan groups, where guns were the law of the forest and guns belonged to men. Prior to World War II, women made up less than 10% of all partisans. There were several factors that limited their participation, such as traditional gender roles that prevented them from leaving their families, sexism, where male partisan leaders saw little benefit in allowing women to join, and then anti-Semitism, specifically in non-Jewish partisan groups. Jewish women were more likely to be accepted in Jewish units. Women served in various roles within these partisan groups. Many of the roles, such as cooking and nursing, were more traditional in nature, while other roles, such as smuggling and fighting, required women to step out of these traditional gender roles and take on a more aggressive role in resistance. In her autobiography, My Life, My Way, Ida Robel wrote, "I was a fighter. I was always a fighter. Jews did not go like sheep to their slaughter." This provides insight into the mindset of women who chose to fight rather than give in to the fate that awaited them. Although women were able to join partisan groups, the road was not an easy one, as they faced numerous challenges, such as anti-Semitism, sexism, physical violence, and especially sexual violence in the form of rape, sexual intimidation, and abuse by the Nazis. Partisan Mira Shalhoub once said, "It was difficult for a woman in a predominantly male organization to avoid propositions and advances by male partisans." Partisan Hannah Senesh wrote this poem after being captured in Hungary. The line that I found to be most powerful is the final one, "I gambled on what mattered most." This is a statement, I believe, that attests not only to her courage, but to her firm belief in the cause for which she fought. Another more important aspect in resistance, and one of the more well-known acts of resistance, was the role of women as couriers, most notably in the Warsaw Ghetto. This group included young women and girls who belonged to youth movements and were dedicated to the cause of resisting the Germans. Disguised as non-Jews, female couriers transported documents, papers, money, weapons, and ammunition across borders and into ghettos. They passed messages between friends, family members, and communities. They warned Jews of approaching dangers, and they brought information as well as hope into the ghettos. Jewish historian Emanuel Ringelblum said about these young women, "Nothing stands in their way, nothing deters them. The story of the Jewish woman will be a glorious page in the history of Jewry during the present war." When discussing these female couriers, Polish diplomat and underground courier Jan Karski said, "The average life of a woman courier did not exceed a few months. It can be said that their lot was the most severe, their sacrifices the greatest, and their contributions the least recognized." Further testament to the bravery of these young women. When discussing couriers, one of the most obvious questions is why. Why was this job easier for women? And why were women so successful in this particular role? One factor was that Jewish men generated suspicion if seen on the streets because they were supposed to be working. Another factor, which was most important and most significant, was that Jewish women had no sign of their Jewishness, as Jewish men were subject to inspection, and since they had been circumcised, that was a giveaway. Jewish women were also more likely to speak the local language. Many had been educated in secular schools and had learned to speak Polish. When asked in an interview about the role of women in resistance, Branka Klibanski said, "In comparison to men, it seems to me that we women were more loyal to the cause, more sensitive to our surroundings, wiser, or perhaps more generously endowed with intuition." One of the most well-known female couriers during the Holocaust was a young woman by the name of Vladka Mead. Vladka served in the resistance from the beginning by passing as a Christian outside the Warsaw Ghetto. Due to her Aryan appearance, fluency in Polish, and resourcefulness, Vladka became a successful underground courier, relaying messages to and from the Jewish Fighting Organization. Some of Vladka's other responsibilities with the underground included smuggling weapons across the wall and helping Jewish children escape to shelters within the city of Warsaw. She said in 1995, "To remain a human being in the ghetto, one had to live in constant defiance, to act illegally." In Vladka Mead's own words, "We maintain the legacy of a people who never gave up, even in the darkest hours, and we shall preserve that memory for future generations." One aspect of resistance that I found especially interesting was the inclusion of photography as an act of resistance. One of the only known partisan photographers was a young woman by the name of Faye Schulman. Over the course of 2 years, she took over 100 photographs depicting rare glimpses into the lives of the partisans and their activities. She said, "We were not like lambs going to slaughter. Many fought back if there was the slightest opportunity, and thousands lost their lives fighting the enemy and working to save lives. I want people to know that there was resistance. I was a photographer. I have pictures. I have proof." While there are many other instances of female participation in acts of resistance, I've highlighted the ones that I personally found most interesting, which brings me back to the original question regarding the importance of studying female resistance to aid in our understanding of resistance as a whole. Based on available research studies, the role of women during the Holocaust was essential to the success of underground resistance activities. Not only did women participate in these activities that were generally reserved for men, they often performed tasks that men were unable to perform. Whether through courier activities, smuggling weapons, or photographing the activities themselves, women played an active role in resistance as they risked their lives to save the lives of others. In conclusion, I want to share a quote from the Yad Vashem website that addresses the legacy of these young female resistance fighters. "They showed exceptional loyalty to their movements and to their people. With unfathomable bravery, they faced incredible dangers every minute of every day, and yet somehow found the strength to continue with their missions or to die trying. They are icons of heroism, and they shatter many stereotypes, that the Jews went to their deaths like sheep to the slaughter, that women are less capable than men of resistance."